Our film begins with one of the most powerful special forces officers in the US military. At that time, he decides to retire early and return to his hometown after many years away. As soon as he sets foot in the city, he realizes many things have changed. Even the old sawmill has closed down. This makes him very sad because that place holds many memories and used to provide a lot of jobs for local people. At that moment, the town's sheriff approaches him. As soon as he sees Chris, Stan immediately recognizes him. He knows Chris was a special forces soldier, and he also knows his family and his father well, so he welcomes him warmly and offers to drive him home. At first Chris refuses, but then he agrees to get in the car. On the way, Chris asks Stan about the old sheriff. He learns that the man was drunk, crashed his car into a tree and died about 2 years ago. When he gets home, the first person to see Chris is his youngest sister. From her uniform, he guesses she works in emergency services. Then his parents appear. They can't believe their eyes because Chris hasn't visited home in many years. The nephew who was just a baby when Chris left is now all grown up. During lunch, the family asks how long his leave is. Chris surprises them by saying he has submitted his permanent resignation and will come back to live with the family. Peter is unhappy because he has to give up his old room for his uncle. He refuses to accept Chris and even decides to sleep in a tent in the garden. But because it rains heavily and gets very cold, he is forced to come back inside. The next morning, Chris is full of energy and fixes the old wooden stairs of the house. He meets his old high school friend Ray. The two hug warmly after many years apart. While sitting and drinking beer, Ray talks about his life. After Chris enlisted and left, Ray also left town, bought a guitar and got into music and drugs. After a while, he became heavily addicted, lost his job and even spent 2 years in prison for robbery. However, he has been clean for 14 months. Chris feels sad for his friend, but Ray reassures him and invites him to play soccer with some old school friends. Chris agrees. They split into teams and play against a team led by another old high school friend of Chris. Hamilton comes from one of the richest families in the state. The sawmill once belonged to his family and he was the one who closed it down. Now Hamilton owns the biggest casino in the city. The match is intense. Hamilton's team plays very roughly. During the game, Chris sees Peter standing with a group of teenagers who seem to be using drugs, but he decides to focus on the match. One of Hamilton's players deliberately attacks Chris and injures his knee, but Chris lets it go, thinking it is just a game. In the end, Hamilton's team wins. Before leaving, Hamilton invites Chris and everyone to his casino that night. Even though he doesn't like it, Chris agrees so he doesn't lose face. As he leaves the field, Chris meets Peter and warns him to stay away from those teenagers because they are drug addicts. But Peter ignores him and walks away. That evening, Ray and his friends arrive at the casino. They are overwhelmed by how crowded and large the place is. Hamilton welcomes them and says everything is free tonight, all on his bill. Chris's friends pull him into a private VIP room where a stripper appears. Chris is extremely nervous until the girl turns around. She is his first love from high school. Donnie also recognizes his voice, turns on the light, sees Chris and immediately stops her performance before leaving in shame. Chris is deeply shocked and disappointed. He goes back to the main hall and sees Ray drinking and joining the games. His friends start gambling and quickly lose all their money, even borrowing more. Chris realizes the casino staff is cheating by switching the dice. He confronts the employee and only asks for his friend's money back, but the other man calls security. The security guards attack Chris brutally, but they don't know who they are dealing with. However, he is eventually subdued with a taser and loses consciousness. When he wakes up, Chris finds himself tied up in a room under the casino. In front of him is the head of security, the same man who played dirty in the soccer match earlier. Travis sees Chris's special forces dog tag and takes it for himself. Not stopping there, he also uses a knife to brutally torture Chris. After torturing him, they throw him by the side of the road, thinking he is dead, but Chris survives and drags himself to a car to call for help. The next scene shows him in the hospital with serious injuries. Luckily, the doctors save his life and tell his family that Chris's healthy body is the reason he survived, and he will recover in a fairly short time. When he returns home, Chris spends some time not going out to recover and rest. He enjoys time with his friend Ray and his nephew Peter. Slowly, his body recovers little by little. He can walk and exercise again. Peter grows fonder of Chris, staying by his side almost all the time, even cooking for him. Step by step, Chris returns to his normal routine. One day, while Chris is cleaning up the old parts of the house, Hamilton shows up and apologizes for what his men did to Chris, talking as if they only broke a car window and never meant to kill him. Not only that, Hamilton even offers Chris the job of head of security at the casino. replacing Travis. When Chris refuses, Hamilton gives him an envelope with a small amount of money as compensation, but Chris also refuses and declares he will handle everything by the law and file a lawsuit against Hamilton's casino. In the next scene, Chris walks into the police station and the sheriff is extremely shocked. He tells Chris that the case has been closed because after investigation they found no evidence against the casino owner. Chris is even labeled as the instigator who caused serious damage to the business and should have been jailed. The sheriff says bluntly that after the Samo closed, the casino became the city's main source of income, so there is no way they will allow it to be shut down or touch its owner. Clearly Hamilton has power over the entire police station and everyone has been bought off. Chris understands the situation and leaves the police station disappointed, but not forgetting to warn that he will not stay silent and will expose the casino's shady activities. The next day, he gets an unexpected visit from Donnie. She comes to see him, bringing the jacket he dropped at the casino during the fight. Chris learns that Donnie has worked at the casino for a year and is surprised to see her doing that job. Donnie explains she had to do it to pay for her brother's tuition and rent, while insisting that her job is only dancing. The meeting is awkward, and as soon as Donnie leaves, Chris's phone rings. Peter has passed out and an ambulance has been called. When he gets there, the paramedics tell Chris that Peter suffered a drug overdose from crystal meth. When he confronts his nephew's friends, Chris learns that they buy drugs from Hamilton's casino thugs. Chris could let it go for himself, but not for his nephew. He immediately goes home, his eyes full of rage, and takes his old gun. His father tries to stop him, but he doesn't listen. Chris drives straight to the casino. Standing in front of the casino, loading his gun, he tells himself he will not kill anyone, only give a warning. He grabs a large wooden stick and storms inside. As soon as he enters, Chris starts smashing slot machines, decorations, and knocking down any security guard who gets in his way. The whole casino descends into chaos until he finds Travis. After beating Travis unconscious, Chris retrieves his Special Forces dog tag. Before leaving, he throws the wooden stick through the one-way glass of Hamilton's office, revealing that Hamilton has been standing there watching everything. Hamilton says this action will completely change their relationship, but Chris doesn't care and leaves with the confidence of a winner. However, on the way home, police cars surround him from all sides. The sheriff himself comes to arrest Chris on charges of assaulting security guards and destroying the casino. In the next scene at the police station, Chris talks to a lawyer. The lawyer says the case is very serious and complicated, and could send Chris to prison for at least 18 years because there are multiple charges at once. More than 11 witnesses from the casino are against him, not to mention the surveillance footage. The only solution is to rely on Chris's honorable military record, but on the condition that he pleads guilty, in which case he might only get 3 months of house arrest. Chris refuses to plead guilty because he believes he did the right thing. He decides to pursue the case to the end, believing the law will return justice to him. In court the next day, Hamilton presents a series of casino employees to testify against Chris, accusing him of being a trained soldier who abused his power against innocent civilians. Chris becomes even more outraged when he realizes his own lawyer is silent and siding with Hamilton. When it is his turn to defend himself, Chris fires his lawyer and asks to represent himself. After the judge agrees, Chris speaks directly to the jury, the townspeople who were selected and have more power than the judge in deciding the verdict. Chris accuses the casino of drug trafficking and poisoning the local people. He promises that if he is acquitted, he will run for sheriff and clean up the city. He takes off his shirt to reveal the scars on his stomach caused by the casino thugs and says that if he becomes sheriff, he will not let this happen to anyone again. Even though the judge is biased and in cahoots with Hamilton, the jury finds Chris not guilty of all charges. Chris walks to the judge, retrieves the evidence from the case, and says he needs that stick. Time passes until the day Chris wins the election and officially becomes the new sheriff of the town. He wrecks his car but still keeps the wooden stick he used to destroy the casino. On his first day in office, Stan approaches Chris and advises him to keep all his subordinates because they are trustworthy. But Chris knows very well that they have all been corrupted, so he begins cleaning up the department. They are all fired at the same time. Chris walks into the police station alone. Later that same day, Hamilton is driving his Porsche with his girlfriend when Chris suddenly blocks him. Chris asks to see his license and registration. Hamilton acts sarcastically, mocking Chris as if he thinks he is the Secretary of the Interior or something, and even offers a bribe to get Chris to work for him. Chris responds by writing him a ticket for a broken taillight. Hamilton argues that the light is not broken. Chris calmly says, "Consider it broken. If you don't fix it, I will fine you again." Then Chris goes to his friend Ray and asks him to be a deputy sheriff. At first Ray refuses, saying his past is too messy. But when Chris says he needs Ray to help him destroy the city's drug empire, Ray agrees. In the following scenes, they arrest a series of drug dealers to gather information about the main distributor. Finally, they catch Travis. During the search, they find a quarter kilo of drugs on him. Travis calmly asks for his lawyer, but Ray is so angry that he searches his car as well. This pleases Chris greatly. They smash the car on the pretext of finding more drugs, which drives Travis to despair, and then they throw him in a cell. Chris asks Ray to go to his house and stay with his family to protect them because he expects Hamilton will take revenge. Chris stays at the station to watch Travis. That evening, while Chris is watching football and eating instant noodles, he gets an unexpected visitor. She brings him homemade food and looks like she wants to stay the night. When Chris asks why she isn't at work, Donnie says she quit the casino and changed because of him. The next morning, Hamilton looks for Travis around the casino but can't find him. Enraged, he leads his men to attack Chris's family and the police station. They burn Chris's car and then open fire on the station with automatic weapons. The shocking part is that the attackers are the former police officers, led by Sheriff Stan. For Travis, this is initially a moment of joy because he hates Chris, but when he realizes the bullets are flying everywhere and he might die too, he panics and begs Chris to let him out. Chris uses the situation to force Travis to reveal where Hamilton produces the drugs. With no other choice, Travis confesses that it is the old sawmill. Unfortunately, before Chris can unlock the door for him, Travis is hit by a bullet and dies. After a series of intense action sequences, Chris kills all the attackers including Stan. Then he takes Donnie home. Ray, with the help of Chris's father, fights fiercely to protect the family. When he is sure everyone is safe, Chris drives to the sawmill. There he discovers a large laboratory producing crystal meth. Unexpectedly, Hamilton is waiting for him. When Chris approaches, Hamilton triggers a trap that leaves Chris hanging in a very dangerous position. Hamilton grabs a stick and tries to hit him and make him fall, but Chris pulls Hamilton down with him. The fall is very hard and Chris breaks his leg. He drags himself into the woods and Hamilton follows with an axe. Before he can be attacked, Chris resets his broken leg in extreme pain and dodges the axe by a hair. The two men fight violently. In the end, Chris does not kill Hamilton. He arrests him and puts him in prison. The final scene shows Chris permanently closing Hamilton's casino, then reopening the old sawmill to create jobs for the honest people of the city. The trial ends there.